You ever notice how almost every app, service, or platform these days gives you two options? You can pay $10 a month or $70 for the whole year. And when you do the math for a second, something feels a little off. Because 12 months of $10 is $120, right? But the yearly option is suddenly $70 or $80, which basically means the monthly plan is 40 to 70% more expensive. And yet, most people still pick the monthly one. Maybe you've done this with streaming services or productivity apps, maybe with a gym membership, or even something like cloud storage. You look at the annual plan and think, yeah, technically it's cheaper, but I don't know if I'll still use this in a year, so you go with monthly. Totally reasonable. Honestly, I've done the exact same thing more times than I can count. And I spend way too much time thinking about money, financial psychology, and the weird little decisions we make with our wallets. The tiny ones that seem harmless in the moment, but quietly shape our finances over years. Because this pricing strategy, it's not random. Companies didn't accidentally make monthly plans expensive. They designed them that way. And once you understand why subscriptions cost so much more per month, you start noticing something interesting. It's not really about the math. It's about human behavior. And today we're going to unpack what's actually happening behind those two buttons, monthly and annual, and why companies structure subscriptions in a way that quietly nudges millions of people towards spending far more than they realize. 1. The comfort of small payments. Let's start with something very simple. Humans love small numbers. $10 a month feels tiny. $70 today feels bigger, even though the math clearly says otherwise. This is what psychologists call payment framing. Our brains don't evaluate costs logically, we evaluate them emotionally. Think about this. Which feels easier to say yes to? Pay $120 today? Or just $10 a month? Same product, same service, but the second one feels painless. It's like buying a coffee instead of a laptop. A small recurring cost blends into life. A big upfront cost forces you to stop and think. And companies know this, so they make monthly plans feel safe and flexible, even if they're objectively more expensive. You're not committing, you're just trying it out. Just $10, no big deal. Except, over time, those no big deal payments quietly add up to hundreds of dollars more. 2. The psychology of commitment. Here's another subtle reason annual plans are cheaper. They lock you in. From a company's perspective, an annual customer is incredibly valuable because they're guaranteed revenue. Let's imagine two customers. Customer A pays $10 per month. Customer B pays $70 for the year. Customer A could cancel anytime, next month, next week, next time they notice the charge. But customer B, they're locked in for 12 months. The company already has the money, and that stability matters a lot for businesses. Predictable revenue helps companies plan growth, hire employees, invest in development, and reduce marketing costs, so they're willing to give you a big discount in exchange for that stability. Think of it like this. They're basically saying, if you promise to stay, we'll charge you less. And honestly, that's a fair trade. But most people still avoid annual commitments because uncertainty feels uncomfortable. We like keeping our options open, even if it costs us. 3. The maybe I'll cancel later illusion. Now, this is where subscriptions get really interesting. When people choose monthly plans, they usually tell themselves something like this: I'll just cancel if I stop using it. Seems logical, right? Except most people don't, because canceling requires attention, and attention is a scarce resource. Life gets busy. Emails pile up, work happens, and that $10 charge quietly slips past your awareness every month. This is actually called subscription fatigue. When people have too many subscriptions, they stop tracking them. Streaming services, music apps, fitness apps, cloud storage, productivity tools, news subscriptions. Before you know it, there are 10 small payments leaving your bank account every month. And because each one feels small, you rarely question them. This is why companies often prefer monthly users. They may charge more per month, but they also know many customers will keep paying longer than expected, not because they love the product, but because canceling isn't urgent. 4. The hidden cost of flexibility. Monthly subscriptions sell one powerful idea: flexibility. You can cancel anytime. You're not stuck. You're in control. And honestly, that's valuable. But flexibility almost always costs more. Think about airline tickets. Flexible tickets are expensive. Hotel bookings with free cancellation cost more. Even car rentals charge extra for flexible options. Why? Because flexibility transfers risk from the customer to the company. If you cancel early, the company loses revenue, so they charge more upfront to compensate. Monthly subscriptions work exactly the same way. You're paying a flexibility premium, which means the extra 40% isn't random. It's basically the price of keeping your options open. 5. The real profit engine of subscriptions. Now, here's something fascinating. The real profit from subscriptions doesn't come from the price difference between monthly and annual. It comes from duration. Let me explain. Most companies know a simple truth: the longer someone stays subscribed, the more profitable they become, because the biggest expense isn't serving customers, it's acquiring them. Ads cost money, marketing costs money, free trials cost money. So companies often lose money on new users. But if that user stays for 12 months, or 24 months, or 36 months, suddenly the business becomes incredibly profitable. This is why companies focus so heavily on retention and why pricing is carefully designed to keep you around. Monthly plans bring people in. Annual plans lock them in. Both strategies ultimately aim for the same thing: time. 6. The behavioral trick hidden in the discount. Let's talk about that big annual discount, because it's not just a reward, it's also a nudge. When companies say save 40% with annual billing, they're doing two psychological things. First, they're creating loss aversion. Humans hate losing more than we enjoy gaining, so suddenly paying monthly feels like wasting money. Second, they're triggering future optimism. People assume they'll keep using the service. We imagine our future self being more productive, more consistent, more motivated. That fitness app? Surely we'll still be using it in December. That productivity tool? Obviously will become organized this year. But reality is messy, and sometimes we stop using things long before the subscription ends, which means the annual discount works because of our optimism about the future. 7. When monthly actually makes sense. Now, here's the important part. Monthly subscriptions aren't always bad. In fact, sometimes they're the smarter choice. For example, if you're testing a new service, if you're unsure how often you'll use it, if the product might become irrelevant soon, or if your finances require flexibility. Monthly plans are basically a trial with freedom. The mistake isn't choosing monthly. The mistake is staying on monthly for years without realizing it. That's where the extra cost quietly compounds. A $5 difference per month might seem tiny, but over 5 years, that could be $300 or more. And multiply that across 10 subscriptions, suddenly it's real money. Conclusion, reflection, and motivation. So when you see those two pricing buttons again, monthly or annual, you'll know what's actually happening. The monthly plan isn't just a payment option, it's a psychological comfort zone. Small payments feel safe, flexible commitments feel easy, and our brains naturally prefer less pressure today, even if it costs tomorrow. But companies understand this. They know most people won't calculate the long-term cost. They know small charges fade into the background, and they design subscription pricing around those human habits, which isn't necessarily evil, it's just business. But once you see the pattern, something interesting happens. You start making intentional choices. Maybe you stick with monthly while testing a new service. Maybe you switch to annual once you know you'll use it long term. Maybe you cancel subscriptions you forgot you had. Or maybe you simply pause before clicking that button and ask yourself a simple question: will I actually still be using this a year from now?
because the difference between monthly and annual isn't really about pricing, it's about awareness. Tiny financial decisions, $10 here, $15 there, quietly shape our spending over years. And honestly, understanding those patterns is one of the simplest ways to improve your finances. No complicated investing strategies, no drastic lifestyle changes, just small moments of awareness. And sometimes that's all it takes to turn a few invisible leaks in your money bucket into real savings over time. And once you start noticing subscription pricing everywhere, which you will, by the way, it becomes a little game, a quiet reminder that behind every price tag, there's always a bit of psychology. And the more you understand it, the harder it becomes for companies to quietly charge you 40% more without you even noticing.